Yourofsky. My contact information is up here on the board. It's also on that flyer that I passed out. I'm going to be speaking about ethical veganism today for around 60 minutes, maybe 65 minutes. Then after that, we'll do a Q&A session for about 30 to 45 minutes, so please hold your questions till the end. And if for some reason you don't feel comfortable asking me a question in front of a crowd, you can always send me a question via email. I don't mind conversing with people that way at all. And the reason why I'm going to focus on ethical veganism today, as it pertains to animal rights, is because between 98 and 99% of all animals who are abused or killed on this planet are abused and killed by the meat, dairy, and egg industries. So by far, veganism is the most important aspect of animal rights, and it is the most important compassionate decision one could ever make if you did want to extend some decency and some kindness and some mercy to the animals that you share this planet with. Now, I want to define the word vegan for everybody right off the bat, in case that is a new word to some. I think everybody understands that vegetarians don't consume the meat of any land or marine animal. Difference, though, between vegans and vegetarians is that vegans also don't consume milk, cheese, eggs, honey, or any animal product whatsoever. I mean, basically, being vegan means that you don't eat anything that once had a face, a mother, or a bowel movement. If you're still consuming something that once went to the bathroom, that once defecated and urinated, you might want to reconsider your dietary selections today. I also want to let people know that I was not raised vegan. Unfortunately, I did eat meat for most of my life, around 25 years to be exact. And back in the day, I can assure you, nobody, not one person in this classroom, ate more meat than I used to eat. I used to wear leather shoes and belts and jackets like most people. In fact, in high school, shamefully and embarrassingly, I even owned a fur coat. Yes, I did. I had a nanny goat fur coat. Needless to say, my blinders were on nice and tightly during one time in my life. But if you give me an open mind today for around 60 minutes, I promise I can remove your blinders as well. Unfortunately, we all wear blinders most of the time. I also want to make two other promises. One, this will be one of the most informative speeches you will ever hear in your lifetime. And two, everyone will walk out of this classroom more ethical than when they came in. More ethical. My goal today is pretty simple. All I'm going to do is reconnect people with animals. I'm going to awaken some emotions and some feelings that have been buried and suppressed intentionally by our society. And the reason why I say reconnect, I want to reconnect people with animals, not just connect them to animals. It's because we all used to be connected. I mean, each and every one of us used to be a real animal rights person at one time, a true animal lover, and a real friend of the animal kingdom. And if you can't remember when, I can help you all out. That's why I'm here today. It's when we were kids. When we were kids, we used to be in awe of animals. They used to make us laugh and giggle and smile, and they made us happy. And there was a time in our life when we would do anything in the world to make them happy as well, and to protect them from cruelty. I mean, if somebody was mean to an animal in front of us when we were young, we would have screamed and cried. You see, we used to understand right from wrong when it came to the treatment of animals, until somebody told us and taught us differently. Somebody told us to ignore their misery, to mock their suffering, to make fun of their very existence, which is something I want people to focus on today and later on today and tomorrow and next week. What in the hell happened along the way? And who taught us to be so mean and vicious and hateful towards animals who used to be our friends? Innocent beings have done nothing wrong to us, because I'm pretty sure we can agree on the following point that I'm about to make. No disagreement here. Hatred is a learned behavior. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Hatred is a learned behavior. Racism, learned behavior. Sexism, heterosexism, these are learned behaviors, and speciesism is no different. It's probably a new word to most people. I wrote it up here on the board for everybody. It's the word species with an ism attached to it, and it is a real word. I did not make it up. Speciesism, simply put, is the unfounded, unethical, and unprincipled view that the human species has every right to kill, mistreat, torture, terrorize, and murder another species because we believe that our species is so much superior and so more important than the other species. But correct me if I'm wrong, and I sincerely mean that, but that is the basis of all discrimination, isn't it? And one group says and thinks they're more special, more superior, more important than the other group, and they proceed to exploit them and oppress them, deny them their right to be free, life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. They enslave that other group most of the time, and in many other cases, they murder that other group with premeditation and impunity. Now, I want everyone to know that growing up, I had some pretty cool parents who taught me that discrimination was always wrong. My parents, though, never taught me about speciesism because they were unaware about that form of hatred like most people are. I had to find that out for myself around 10 years ago, but the way I remember being taught and the way I see it nowadays with complete clarity is that discrimination is either wrong on its surface or it's not. There's no picking and choosing. You can't pick and choose which forms of discrimination are wrong and which forms of discrimination might be acceptable. It is all obscene and wrong on its foundation, on its surface, or it's not. So if you find racism to be obscene, and every logical person does, you should also find speciesism to be obscene as well. Now, I want to ask people to do something right now, in case you haven't done so yet, but as I continue to talk about this issue today, please use empathy to its fullest. And we are going to watch a slaughterhouse video in around 7 or 8 minutes, so empathy is awfully crucial here today. And when I ask people to use empathy, what I'm saying is, place yourself in the position of the animals and view this issue from the animal's point of view, from the victim's point of view, because I'll tell you what, that is the only thing that ever counts when you're talking about an injustice, is how the victims are being treated and how the victims are viewing that issue. It is never, ever important what victimizers think about the issue, not so important what meat-eaters think about the issue of animal rights. Why? But pretty easy for meat-eaters to brush it aside and laugh it off and make jokes about it. It's always easy for the victimizer to mock the suffering of the victims, something we've done awfully well when it came to forms of human-to-human oppression. And I do understand that some people think it's radical or even silly when I say view an issue through the eyes of a cow, a pig, a chicken, a turkey, a fish, or some other animal on this planet, but understand that all social justice movements have always asked people to view that issue through the eyes of the victims. I mean, abolitionists did look at slavery through the eyes of subjugated blacks, while the Allied forces looked at Nazism through the eyes of Jews and other non-Aryans that Hitler labeled unworthy and expendable. If you utilize empathy, man, it truly allows you to understand the injustice without overanalyzing the issue. Please don't overanalyze and overthink what I'm talking about today. It's simple. It's all about compassion, peace, mercy, kindness, and decency. I'm going to break this down even further for everybody. When I ask people to use empathy, what I'm pretty much saying is use the golden rule. Actually, put it to use for a change, instead of just paying lip service to it like most people do. And the golden rule, by the way, is in every single religion in one way or another. Even non-religious people acknowledge that. The golden rule is a pretty wise way to live your life, because the golden rule states that you should treat others like you would want to be treated. You should do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. And since no one in this classroom, I'm positive, wants to be treated the way we treat cows and pigs and chickens and turkeys and fish and most other animals on this planet, again, there is no reason to allow speciesism to continue unabated. Now, I want to drive this one point home because so many people don't want to accept this or acknowledge this, but it's unassailable. I mean, it cannot be challenged. The same asinine and vicious and vile and invalid excuses and rationalizations that humans have used to oppress other humans are the same asinine and vicious and vile and invalid excuses and rationalizations that humans use to oppress the animals. Now, I travel the country a lot, giving a lot of talks, about 250 lectures every single year, and I hear a sad comment a lot. I hear people say something like this: "Hey, Gary, they're just animals, man. They're just cows, they're just pigs, they're just chickens. They don't look like us. They don't act like us, not as smart as we are, so they don't deserve to be treated with equality and don't deserve their right to be free." I'll tell you what, go back a couple of hundred years ago in slavery America, when abolitionists like William Lloyd Garrison and Frederick Douglass were fighting to abolish slavery. And what were the white slave owners saying, the majority of white society saying about blacks? They're just blacks. They don't look like us. They don't act like us. They're not as smart as we are. Don't speak like we do. So they don't deserve to be treated with equality and don't deserve to be free. I mean, go back 90 years ago in America, before the 19th Amendment was enacted, giving women the right to vote. When women were trying to obtain their equal say in society, what were the men saying? Well, they're just women. Well, they don't look like us. They don't act like us, not as smart as we are, not as strong as we are. So they don't deserve to be treated with equality and don't deserve their equal say in society. Whenever anybody plays that asinine fill-in-the-blank game, they're just blacks, they're just women, they're just homosexuals, they're just immigrants, they're just Iraqis, they're just animals, they're just cows, they're just pigs, and they're just chickens. It is a vile and invalid excuse to oppress somebody else, to deny somebody else their freedom, their right to bodily integrity. I mean, the moment somebody okays discrimination is the moment somebody okays injustice. And violence is violence. Cruelty is cruelty, and premeditated murder is premeditated murder, even if the victims only walk on all fours and have fur and feathers and beaks and gills. Now, I want people to apply some pure, simple logic to the following statement I'm about to make. If you use some simple logic, I'm talking good versus bad, right versus wrong, kindness versus cruelty, the following statement I'm about to make also cannot be challenged. The only nice slaughterhouse is an empty, abolished slaughterhouse. But sadly, that statement is often challenged by uninformed or misinformed or egocentric individuals who believe that mercy and compassion should only be doled out for human beings, that we are the only beings worthy of receiving such generosity. That is complete and utter nonsense, though, and it's unfair. I mean, every living being under the sun deserves mercy and compassion. If we deny that every animal wants to fly or swim or run freely, we are being cruel and dishonest. And I say dishonest for a reason. Think about this. If given an option, if animals actually had a choice, if we gave them an option, no animal would ever choose pain and suffering and misery and death instead of being free. I mean, no living being would ever make that illogical, irrational choice of choosing pain and suffering instead of being free. Now, I'm sure you've been on the highways outside of New York City and you've seen these mobile concentration camps, these trucks that transport cows and pigs to the slaughterhouse to be tortured and killed. Now, I've been to a few dozen slaughterhouses in my lifetime, and I'll talk about that briefly after the video. But when those trucks arrive at the slaughterhouse, there is not one animal, not one, that ever wants to get off that truck. They know what's next. They're not stupid. They smell death and bloodshed and fear and misery in the air. They do not want to get off that truck. So they have these long electric prods, these steel devices that shoot electricity into the sides of these animals to force them to walk down that chute to the killing floor to be killed. Now imagine, though, for one moment that there are actually two chutes leading from the truck. One leading to the killing floor, violence and bloodshed and fear. One leading to a field of freedom. Does anybody actually think they'd ever walk down that chute to the killing floor? Not even by mistake. Not even accidentally would that ever happen. It is illogical and irrational to believe otherwise. Now, I want to show a graphic 4-minute video right now about what goes on inside of a slaughterhouse. And I'm not showing this video to shock anybody, though most of you will be shocked, and you should be shocked. But I'm showing this video to take the blinders off today, to also let people know that I never, ever engage in exaggeration when I'm talking about the disgusting ritual of human to animal slavery. I want to ask people something before I press play. Please do not turn away, and please do not close your eyes during this video. Now, you do have the right to do whatever you want to do. I can make you do things you don't want to do, and I'll tell you what, I don't want to make you do something you do not want to do. But I will make a plea with everybody. Turning a blind eye never solved any problem on this planet. Walking around with blinders on, acting like atrocities are not taking place, doesn't all of a sudden magically mean that atrocities are all of a sudden not taking place. If you do feel the need to turn away or close your eyes during this video, you might want to ask yourself one question. If it's not good enough for my eyes, then why is it good enough for my stomach? First of all, I do want to thank everybody for watching that video. I do understand that stuff is not easy to watch, especially if you used empathy like I asked, because I sure hope you did, because now I hope you truly understand how hard it must be to endure, not to watch, but to be a victim from the victim's point of view. I want everyone to know that around 10 years ago, when I was still consuming the cut-up corpses of dead animals, and I'm not being dramatic, I am just sick and tired of the euphemisms that we use in our society, because I'm positive that's why most of this cruelty takes place. So I hope you also understand what meat truly is. It is the cut-up corpse of a dead, dismembered animal. It's a dead body, sliced up into smaller pieces. I used to come up with insane excuses like most people to eat flesh. You think I was any different? No different. I used to come up with insane rationalizations not to allow animals into our circles of compassion, until I finally realized something and understood the cold, hard truth. That I was complicit in all the violence. Everything we just saw, I was complicit. I mean, animals were being tortured and killed so I can have a sandwich later on that day. Frankly, I just don't think I'm that important in the grand scheme of things to believe that other beings should have to suffer and die on my account. I'm no longer that selfish. I know I'm not that important to believe that that should have to happen for me. Please understand, as meat eaters, we are all complicit in the violence. But we don't do the killing directly, but we sure pay other people to do the dirty work for us. We live in a capitalist society, supply and demand. These corporations like Tyson and ConAgra, Smithfield and Purdue, these companies like McDonald's and Burger King and Wendy's and KFC, they would not be producing a flesh product if there were no market for that flesh product. So don't for 1 minute think that you yourself can't directly affect the lives of thousands of innocent animals by simply changing what you eat every single day. Did you know that from birth to death in America, every single meat eater consumes around 3,000 land animals and thousands of other marine animals? And collectively in America, we are enslaving and murdering 10 billion land animals every single year. And for the record, neither God nor evolution created 10 billion land animals in America last year. We do that. Our corporations do that. We've commodified the animals. We castrate all the males at birth, artificially impregnate the females later on. We have such a God complex. I don't even know where to begin with that condemnation. We're not gods, though. We decide who gets to procreate, when and where, who gets to live and who gets to die. That's insane. We've taken away so much from the animals. Just for a sandwich, we've taken away their right to procreate, their right to be free. You know what else we've taken away from the animals? Sunlight. Besides cows who get to graze for 9 to 15 months in a field, pigs and chickens and turkeys never even feel sunlight on their skin. Born, enslaved, and murdered in a warehouse. never even feeling sunlight, never feeling grass under their feet, their paws, and their hoofs. All this for a sandwich. And I hope everybody understands what I'm offering today. It's pretty special. You actually have a chance today, when you walk out of this classroom, to take part in ending a massacre. Actually take part in doing something productive instead of just paying lip service to problems that you have no control over. Something else that upsets me when I travel the country, people always want to tell me what they're opposed to. Oh, I'm opposed to that. Oh, I'm opposed to that. Wait, Gary, what atrocity? Oh, gosh, I'm opposed to that, too. That's horrible. Being opposed to an injustice does not make the injustice go away in any way, shape, or form. Paying lip service to a problem doesn't help the problem go away. But you need, and you have a chance to actually take part in this problem that we are creating right here in America by simply changing what you eat every single day. I also want to let people know one more thing before I continue. That video we just saw, some of that footage is my footage. Footage that I shot in slaughterhouses all over this country, from Michigan to California, because when I got information sent to me by large animal rights groups around 10 years ago, I did not believe them. If there is anyone who is still skeptical right now about what I'm talking about, I just want you to know that I have you beat at least 10,000 times in the skepticism department. It's not even close. When I was told that 80% of animals in slaughterhouses were being dismembered while they were fully conscious, my first reaction was, no way, get out of here. You're exaggerating, you're lying, it can't be going on. There have to be laws out there preventing that from happening. I mean, when I was told that foxes on fur farms were being anally electrocuted, anal electrocution is the standard method of death for every single fox enslaved by the fur industry on this planet, that about blew me away. When I was told the Shriners Burn Institute in Cincinnati, Ohio, that they were dipping live dogs, beagles, in kerosene and lighting them on fire for burn research, I had to go see this stuff for myself. I spent 6 weeks at Thornapple Valley Pig Slaughterhouse, Eastern Market, Detroit. Been to dozens more around the nation, egg farms and dairy farms. I've been inside of animal research laboratories. I've been behind the scenes of every circus that ever set foot in Michigan, from the Kelly Miller Circus to Ringling Brothers. I even went to Canada in 1997, Blenheim, Ontario. I went to a mink concentration camp that we euphemistically refer to as a fur farm, and I decided to give 1,542 mink a chance at freedom. Easter Sunday, April 97, I opened up the cages, gave them a chance to run across the street to a 600-acre forest before they were going to have their necks manually broken and the skin ripped off their bodies so someone else can buy a jacket or a hat or a pair of slippers out of their skin. And let's be clear and honest about one thing. That chance at freedom I gave those mink that evening, that is the exact same chance at freedom we would all want if we were being held against our will in captivity, waiting to have our necks snapped and the skin ripped off our bodies so someone else could make a jacket or a hat or a pair of slippers out of our skin. I have been arrested a total of 13 times in all for random acts of kindness and compassion on behalf of my animal brothers and sisters. And that mink liberation, by the way, netted me 6 months in maximum security. 6 months in prison with child molesters, rapists, and murderers. I kid you not. And indulge me for a moment, because I do have to point out the outrageous absurdity of sending someone to prison for trying to stop cruelty and violence. Do you understand? Do you realize that if I wanted to harm animals, if I wanted to be violent and vicious to mink, take them out of their natural habitat, put them inside a 6-by-8-inch cage and drive them insane from that confinement, take them out of the cage in a few months, snap their neck against my knee, if I wanted to take a steel rod and lift up a fox's tail and shove it inside his anus and electrocute him from the inside out, if I wanted to light dogs on fire for burn research, or sew the eyes of kittens shut, you should know the March of Dimes laboratory sews the eyes of kittens and ferrets shut to try and mimic blindness and see how blindness affects their brains, not our brains. If I wanted to beat elephants into submission in the circus and make them perform stupid tricks for other people's amusement, and if I wanted to hang live cows and pigs upside down by their hind legs while they were terrified and screaming and in fear. If I wanted to take a 12-inch blade and shove it in their throat and slice up their throat, drain their blood, cut off their heads, slice up their bodies and sell their flesh. That'd be great. That'd be just fantastic in our society. I'd probably even be a hero to most people for doing that. But I tried to stop the cruelty and the killing. Society said to me, "No way, Yourofsky, don't you dare try to stop this killing. We're the dominant species on this planet. The animals don't count. They don't matter. We do what we want with them whenever we want to, and that's the way it is, and don't you dare. Don't you dare ever try to change that. Off to prison for you, and don't ever pull that stunt again." I am not trying to brag and talk about all the times I've been imprisoned, the direct action and civil disobedience I've taken part in, but I am trying to explain that I have seen slavery and murder firsthand. I've witnessed it. And being at a slaughterhouse, the most evil place imaginable, hearing their screams and smelling death and blood and fear in the air. Fear has a disgusting aroma, in case you did not know that. That's 1,000 times worse than ever watching it on video. And I'm not trying to minimize what we just saw. I know it was rough on some people in here, but to see that stuff happen in front of your face is far, far worse. Now, I want to help people put this into action. I sure hope most people are considering a lifestyle change today, and at the very least, a drastic reduction in your animal product intake. Understand, reduction does have a positive effect in many ways, supply and demand. I mean, we don't want to enslave and murder 10 billion land animals every year, only 5 billion or 1 billion. That's billions of innocent beings that won't suffer and die. So if you can only make Friday and Saturday all vegan day, Monday and Tuesday all vegan day, hey, it's a step in the right direction and you're making an effort. And I never get upset when people make an effort to reduce and eliminate cruelty. I only get perturbed when people walk out of this classroom and don't want to take any steps to reduce and eliminate cruelty from their lives. So take that step at the very least